off diving off on what we call the Big Rick in Kyoto Harbour, Japanese cargo ship, and we were working inside the ship, and when I came to get out of the vessel, my tank valve got tangled in a whole mass of monofilament fishing line. I couldn't get out of it, and I couldn't get to my diving knife because it was strapped to my leg. I was in a very confined area, and so I took off the tank and all the equipment, got myself out of the area, and then literally carried the tank in my arms up to the 10-foot staging post we had underneath the boat, and it was then that I vowed that never again would I put my knife on my leg. I couldn't get access to it, so I carried it strapped to my forearm from there on.
How do you put a staging ground under a boat? Actually, I actually don't know.
Sorry?
How do you put a staging ground under a boat? Do you just weigh it down? How does it work?
I built a T-bar out of pipe.
Okay.
And I put it on its own length of rope, so that when threw this T-bar over the side, the top of the T-bar, you could sort of sit on this thing. Top of the T-bar was about the middle of your chest, so that you can decompress. Essentially, we never moved into diving into areas where you had to decompress, but we used to do a decompression stage on the way up anyway. I think it was involved about 10 minutes sitting at 10 feet on this T-bar extension. Yeah.
Just for safety purposes?
Sorry?
Just for safety purposes? Just
for safety purposes, yeah.
Did that stem from your friend who had that tingling sensation in his legs? Is that because of that?
No, not really. I think I guess I was always the leader of the dive team with your mother and I, and I knew that there was no decompression chamber available in Papua New Guinea where we were, and it just seemed sensible. If I had a built up of probably me more than your mother, because I used to dig and shovel around down there, and it just made sense to build in a no decompression stop or build in a decompression stop just for safety. That's it. It's the only reason I did it. And I don't think either of us were ever in need of compulsory decompression. Yeah.
Well, can you tell me the story you told me once upon a time about that fella who did need decompression?
Yeah. And
what happened?
He was sitting on the beach after a dive, and he said he was losing sensation. So Dr. Hamish Foster, I think, was the man who was with us, and so immediately he went back down to the depth where he had been, which was about 100 feet or so, and they called up relays of divers to go and sit with him for a bit of time while he gradually came to the surface. Mainly it was a sloped beach near where we were, and so you could sit at the bottom at 100 feet for whatever period of time, and then you could just move up this sandy beach, just decreasing it bit by bit, and they got onto to somebody in the mainland in Australia who advised on what timing should be, how long you should spend in each room, and he gradually came up and, over a period of many hours, Yeah, he was lucky. He was lucky. He was lucky that the symptoms were recognised, and lucky he had a doctor there who, was knowledgeable about diving. That was good. Yeah, and he never went down again. Never dived again.
I suppose that's enough to scare anyone.
It was enough to scare anyone. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, he never dived again.
Now, I remembered another story which you told me about diving, which was about when you raised an anchor, and I believe there's anchors actually at a museum somewhere, if I recall.
The anchor.
It's an anchor for some ship that you raised or something, and it's.
Yeah, there is an anchor ship. I don't think it ever made its way to a museum, but it certainly made its way to the Bogumil Island Sub-Aqua BSAC, Bogumil Island Sub-Aqua Diving Club.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we raised these things. Bloody heavy it was, really heavy. And we rescued it off it was a spare anchor on the deep wreck. Rescued it out by filling up oil drums, 44-gallon drums of air, lifts the thing up, and then towed it very, very slowly. You couldn't go very fast with this thing hanging below the boat. And I was, in case it had sort of lost its buoyancy through the drums coming loose or something or other, I wasn't going enough to tie it off onto anything, because if it suddenly lost its buoyancy, it would take the boat down with it, the little aluminium boat we had. Yeah. It would have taken that to the bottom with it. So I literally hung onto it while we were towing this thing back to the beach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We found it just purely by coincidence.
I think you said something like the thing burst through the sea, the surface of the water.
Oh yeah. When we first filled the drums with air, I forget how many, 2 or 3 drums we had on it, and they were not all full of air, but as they went up, the air expanded inside the drums, and the thing picked up speed. And the guys on the surface said this thing, literally these drums leapt out of the water with this anchor on the bottom, banging and clanging together, and and they said we got out of the way just in just in case the thing come up underneath them, in the boat. Yeah, we'd actually gone down and put some drums on it in the morning, and it wasn't enough, so we thought, right, we'll give it some real horsepower this time. We'll put a couple more drums on it, and boy, did it move. and us on the bottom, we saw this thing take off, and bubbles blowing out of it. And again, I said to the other guy, I said, we better get out of the way, because if it gets to the top and the drums turn over,
it comes right back down again.
It'll come straight back down again, fast. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. A couple of things. This is probably the category I'd marked as your adventure category. Some of the things you've done, which is what we've been talking about so far. So, you once described to me manually managing propellers during high seas. Oh yeah, that was when I was in the Merchant Navy on the Otaio, OTAIO,
and we were going across the North Atlantic in winter.
Yes.
And we had twin-engine vessel, and we were going at a fairly slow speed anyway because of the weather. It was appalling. But you stood in the engine room and you could feel which way the vessel was going. So as it lurched to port, you'd pile on a few more ribs on the port engine and drop them off the starboard engine. Otherwise, when the propeller broke the surface of the water, the whole ship would shudder and as it thrashed around trying to get purchase. And I don't know how long I did it for, but it's probably only a couple of hours or something like that. But wow, what a job that was! I remember going up to the bridge and looking out over the forward deck of the ship and marvelling how the bloody thing stayed together.
Yeah.
It just plunged down into the water, disappeared completely. The water washed all the way down from the forecastle, all the way down over the hatch tops and everything, and then lifted its head up and shed the water. Engines thrashing around, and then down it went again. And you think, how long can you put up with this? This ship. But that was the worst storm I ever went through. Thank goodness. Another time though, when we were going down through, on the way to New Zealand, staying in New Zealand, we were in the Pacific Ocean, and it was a stinking hot day, and weather was calm as can be, and there was no air conditioning on the ship. It was just heating, and then the skipper saw a like a water tornado out over to the one side, so he ordered the coxswain to drive through it, through this water tornado. Oh God, that was beautiful. It just everybody rushed up on deck and took off their shirts and this nice fresh water all cascaded over us and across over the ship, cooling it to some extent. Yeah, crazy when you think about it, but effective.
Yeah. Evaporative cooling, effectively.
Yeah, that's right. No, it was good.
And you described to me only the other day when I recalled it, but perhaps in more detail about the great palm leaf adventure.
Oh, I had when we went ashore at Curacao, which is an oiling port, at the beginning of wherever it is, I forget now. Beginning of I think it was the Panama Canal, I think Curacao is, and we went ashore, and we found like a local bar where we drank fully at the local bar, and on our way back home into the port we saw this big palm tree, and we thought, oh, one of those big fronds would look really, really nice on board the boat. So somebody stood on somebody else's shoulders, literally, and hacked at this thing. And the guy in the house had seen us, although we naively thought that we were being very quiet and discreet and hacking it nicely down. Anyway, when we got it home, we carried it proudly back to the ship, and as we were going there, we heard these sirens coming up from behind us. I thought, I wonder what that's all about then. And then when this police car stopped at the person's house, and they were all pointing in our direction, we thought, oh, this is something to do with what we're doing, So we bolted. We bolted for a little hill there, which we called Captain Morgan's Castle. Probably wasn't anything, but the police drove up to the base of this hill, which was covered in big cacti, sort of like 2 metre tall and more, cacti. And next thing we know is a megaphone out, and the guy was shouting through it, which we had no idea what he was saying. And then there was a chatter of automatic rifle fire, and we figured it's probably better to go back than to try and outrun these coppers. We don't know quite how serious they are with these automatic weapons. Anyway, all the noise and kerfuffle, they brought everybody on board the ship up on deck. Oh, what's going on over here? Police firing guns and loudspeakers going off, and the police loaded the palm front on top of the police car. There's two of them, two cop cars, loaded us inside, and with sirens blazing, we ran up to it. We went up to the ship, to a great gathering of people on the deck, and hooing and hawing, and we were given the palm leaf, and we marched triumphantly on board the vessel. Yeah, it was absolutely bizarre when I think about it now. You know, absolutely bizarre. Whether they would have shot at us or not, I don't know. But just hearing automatic rifle fire go off, that was enough for us. Crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good story, yeah. Another thing I recall you telling me about, I think this was to do with your powerhouse rowing days, was when you caught a guy, I think was cutting girls' dresses.
Yeah, he was in the dance floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had a little sort of quite a good sort of routine. Is that half a dozen of us would dance close by him, and at the right moment we'd all squeeze in on him, lift him off the bloody floor, carry him out of the dance floor and down into the rowing club rooms which were underneath. And I remember when the copper said to me, he said, "Look," he said, if this guy came to us," he said, "a little bit beaten about, and you tell us he'd fallen down the stairs, we'd be quite happy with that." Not that we ever did do anything like that,
yeah.
But he said, "Oh," he said, "we'd be quite happy with that." Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting one, yeah.
I had a rifle pointed at me once in the car park, the powerhouse. It was one of the very last. We were one of the last to go, and we were going to deposit the money, because it was all cash in that era, in the bank and in the night safe. And I had the night safe satchel bulging full of money. This guy came at us with a rifle, and I refused to open the door or the window, and his mother was there. And anyway, eventually other rowing club guys came down. He smashed my window. That's why he broke the window of the Land Rover. And other rowing club guys came down, and they grabbed hold of him, and so we drove off straight to the city to deposit the money. And the guys apparently they took the rifle and heaved it out into the middle of Albert Park Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took it off and just heaved it into the middle of the lake, and let the guy go on his way. He must have been a bit angry about something.
Yeah. Jim, you alright? Do you want to sit up or anything, Dad?
Right.
And another one that you told me about, which I think is that you and Mum mentioned this when Mum was visiting, which was the time you got bogged in the middle of nowhere and just per happenstance someone was there.
Yeah, we were driving back from Bowen on the southern tip of Bougainville.
Yeah.
And we'd all met there. I forget, some had probably come by road and some probably come by sea. And on the way back, we had to drive through a small creek. And it wasn't a small creek by the time we got back. It was quite a big flowing river, and it had all been scoured out by the water, whatever. And the Land Rover went down into this hole, and the back end stuck underwater, and there it remained. And thinking about how we were going to get out of this place, and I heard a noise of a diesel engine rumbling, and I thought I'd go and find out what this is. I came across a guy who's known as Kiwi Blanchard. He was doing some clearing for a local village around there, and Kiwi had a big bulldozer, something like a D8 or something. And he was really quite a big bulldozer. And he said, "Yeah, I'll come and tow you out." He said, "Have you got a rope?" I said, "Yes, I have." And I had some steel wire rope. Anyway, hooked it on the back of his bulldozer, and he towed us out and up a hill. And going up this hill, I thought, if I just put the car in second gear, low range, it should it might start. If there's any chance it's going to start, it might start. So I did just that, put it into second gear, low range, and just set back. And then just as we neared the top of the hill, the engine fired. It caught. And so I thought, good grief. And then Basha said, "Look, Kiwi, I've got it going now, but I don't want to stop, I want to keep going." Going back home, and we drove through that, and there was steam coming out of everything. Oh, it's unbelievable. And I drove all the way home without stopping, and drove straight up underneath the house. We had a high-set house, and I thought, oh God, we're home, And there was water. There was water in the gearboxes, water in the hubs, water in the sump. There was water everywhere. Unbelievable, really. That car got us home after having its whole fuel tank had been underwater for a while.
Yeah.
But that car got us home. Yeah, that was frightening.
I'm just